Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to really unpack complex business ideas, make them useful for you. Today, we're looking at something fundamental, maybe even overlooked sometimes, how businesses actually define and structure work. We're getting into job analysis and job design. What's the difference? Why does it matter?
It matters hugely, and it's often where things go wrong right from the start.
Yeah.
Imagine a company, let's call it Alpha Corp. They've got terrible turnover. People leave after just a few months. Now, they might blame the recruits, but chances are the real issue. Alpha Corp never really nailed down what the job was. You just can't find the right person if you haven't clearly defined the role they're stepping into. It sounds basic, but
It's foundational.
yeah.
So our mission today is to give you that clarity. Let's start with the first piece, job analysis, or JA. This is basically the blueprint phase, right? Systematically studying duties, tasks, the work environment.
Exactly. It's the full inventory. What's involved, how much time,
Yeah.
what tools or equipment, what are the responsibilities, the whole picture.
Okay. And you mentioned before we started that it's not just a simple list. There are specific things to look at.
Right. To do it properly, you need to dig into 5 areas. 1,
Yeah.
the actual job activities, what people do. 2, the equipment they use. Seems obvious, but critical. 3, the specific job behaviors needed, not just tasks, but how they need to act. Think teamwork, problem solving. 4, the working conditions. Is it in an office, a factory, remote? And 5, the level of supervision required. How much autonomy do they have? Miss any of those in your analysis, well, it's shaky.
Okay. 5 key inputs.
Yeah.
Got it. But digging into all that sounds like a lot of work. Observing people directly, that seems like it could take forever and be pretty costly. Surely there are, more efficient ways to get this granular detail without someone literally watching over shoulders all day.
Oh, absolutely. The classic observation method, just watching people work. Yeah, it's useful for seeing task sequences and skills, but it is time-consuming. That's why variations exist.
Yeah.
You might use work sampling.
Work sampling.
Yeah, observing shorter periods, different tasks across the day. Gives you a snapshot without constant observation. Or you could use a work diary or log. Here, the employee actually records their own activities.
Ah, so they become their own observer, essentially, shifting the workload a bit.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off, maybe a bit less objective sometimes, but much more efficient.
Makes sense. What else?
Well, then you've got methods based on communication. The interview method is common. A supervisor or HR person asks standardized questions about duties, skills, physical demands, safety, all that. Standardized is key for consistency.
Right. And I guess questionnaires are just the written version of that.
Pretty much. Scalable way to get answers from lots of people at once. Same kinds of questions as the interview.
Okay, observation, diaries, interviews, questionnaires. But there was one you mentioned earlier that sounded really interesting. The critical incident technique, CIT.
Ah, yes, CIT. This one's fascinating because it gets beyond the routine stuff. It focuses on specific moments, incidents, where an employee's actions were particularly effective or ineffective.
Moments of truth, kind of?
Exactly. It's not about checking boxes. It's about understanding judgment, decision-making, especially under pressure. You might think you need someone who just follows procedures rigidly, but CIT might reveal that the reality of the job demands someone who can think on their feet when the procedure breaks down.
That could totally change who you look for.
It really can. When you use CIT, you look at 4 things for each incident. First, what led up to it, the context. Second, what exactly did the person do, effective or ineffective actions. Third, what were the consequences of those actions? And fourth, crucially, how much control did the employee actually have over the outcome? It assesses real competence.
Wow. Okay, so that's a huge difference. Instead of just saying follows protocol, you might realize you need someone who can, I don't know, improvise solutions when the system fails. Big shift.
Precisely. It elevates the analysis from just tasks to actual contribution, especially cognitive contribution.
All right, so you've done all this analysis, observation, interviews, maybe some CIT, you've got the data. What happens next? 2 documents usually come out of this, right? The job description and the other one.
That's right. The analysis feeds into 2 key outputs. First, the job description, the JD. This is the written statement outlining the duties, tasks, responsibilities. It basically defines the role, includes the job title, where it sits in the company, what they'll be doing day to day, the working conditions, performance standards. It's the what.
The what of the job, okay.
Yeah.
And the second document is the job specification, the JS.
Correct. The job specification, or JS. This lists the qualifications needed to do that job described in the JD. It focuses on the person. Talking education, training, experience, specific skills, personal qualities, expertise required.
So JD is the role, JS is the person profile.
Exactly. And getting the JS right. That's not just good HR, it's also about managing risk. If you list qualifications in the JS that aren't actually essential for performing the duties in the JD, well, that can look like unnecessary gatekeeping. Could even lead to discrimination claims. Clarity here is vital.
That's a really important point. So that clear distinction helps us move from job analysis, the what and who, to the next stage. Job design, this is more about the how, right?
Right.
Structuring the work itself, number, kind, variety of tasks, focusing on satisfaction, motivation.
Yes, exactly. Job design is where you shape the work, often thinking about the employee experience. Traditionally, especially in places like manufacturing or retail, the approach was specialization.
Right, the supermarket example you mentioned. Shelf stacker,
Yeah?
checkout worker, very separate, very repetitive tasks.
Yeah. Efficient on paper, uses low-skilled labor, which could be cheaper initially.
But it sounds incredibly boring. Doesn't that kind of extreme specialization just lead to people checking out mentally, making mistakes, quitting? High turnover must eat up those savings, surely. Is it ever really the best way anymore?
That's the core tension, isn't it? Specialization can maximize efficiency for very simple, repetitive tasks, but the human cost demotivation, burnout, errors, turnover, often outweighs the benefits, which is why the trend now is much more towards job enlargement.
Job enlargement. Okay, what's that involve?
It's basically adding more tasks to a job, but tasks at a similar skill level, a horizontal expansion.
Yeah.
So back to the supermarket. Instead of only checkout, maybe the employee also does some stocking, helps customers find things, checks inventory, maybe some light cleaning, more variety.
Okay, expanding the scope horizontally. I remember seeing a job ad once for a warehouse technician. They didn't just pick orders, they also had to do like mini audits on supplier paperwork. That feels like enlargement. More ownership, less repetition.
Exactly. The goal is to make the work more engaging, increase satisfaction, and hopefully boost productivity and quality in a sustainable way.
So if we're designing a job for engagement, for success in today's world, what does that look like? What are the key ingredients?
Well, research points to several common elements of a well-designed job. Variety is huge, different kinds of tasks, interesting tasks, not just doing the same thing over and over. Challenge is important too, but the right level. Not overwhelming, but enough to keep people engaged. Opportunities to learn and grow. People want to develop new skills.
And what about the people side? Social interaction, feeling supported.
Absolutely critical. Opportunities for social interaction. Having the resources you need to actually do the job well. Nothing's more frustrating than not having the right tools. And a big one, flexibility and autonomy. Having some discretion, some say in how you do the work.
Autonomy, that feels key for motivation, the chance to actually achieve something because you had control over it.
Yes. When people can plan, schedule, figure out their own process, to some extent they feel ownership. That's powerful. But that ownership needs to be supported by the right kind of feedback.
Feedback. That's a whole topic in itself. What's the distinction here?
Well, feedback needs to be informative and constructive. It should help the person understand their performance and how to improve strategically. That's motivating. But if the feedback feels controlling, like it's undermining their autonomy, micromanaging them, even if it sounds positive on the surface, it kills motivation.
That's a crucial difference. Telling someone how they did versus telling them exactly how they must do it next time, even if they have ownership.
Precisely. If you give someone autonomy, but then constantly dictate the process through feedback, you just erode that sense of ownership and motivation.
Okay, let's pull this all together. We've analyzed the job, JA. We've designed it thoughtfully, job design. What's the payoff? What are the big benefits for the business and for the employee when this is done right?
The benefits are pretty widespread, actually. First off, doing this properly helps ensure your staff actually have the right skills and knowledge for the job. This directly improves recruitment and selection. You know who you're looking for. It leads to more effective training, fairer pay structures, and better performance management. Basically, it strengthens all those HR processes.
Makes them more targeted, more effective.
Yes. And then the job design piece itself, when done well, it leads to more motivated, more productive employees, less turnover, higher engagement. Plus, having clear job descriptions and specifications means everyone knows what's expected from day one. Transparency.
That clarity is invaluable. Okay, the flip side, the reality check. You mentioned it's time-consuming, which is a big limitation. What other pitfalls or costs should businesses be aware of?
Yeah, time is the big one. It takes effort to do JA and job design properly. Another challenge is just capturing everything accurately. Jobs can be complex, have nuances that are hard to pin down in a document.
Especially the soft skills or the unexpected things that pop up.
Exactly. And the biggest issue, perhaps, is that jobs change. The business grows, technology evolves.
Mm.
Think about AI impacting roles right now. A JD or JS written even 2 or 3 years ago might be seriously outdated today.
So it's not a one-and-done exercise.
Definitely not. Job analysis needs to be revisited regularly.
Yeah.
It has to be a dynamic process to stay relevant and useful. Otherwise, those documents just become historical artifacts.
Right. So let's recap the core idea for you listening. Job analysis is like drawing the blueprint, what work needs doing, who has the qualifications to do it. Job design is like the interior architecture. How do we arrange those tasks and responsibilities to make the work not just efficient, but also engaging and fulfilling for the person doing it?
Well put. And connecting it to the bigger picture, that upfront effort. Defining and structuring the role properly, it really dictates so much of what follows. Who you hire, how well they perform, how engaged they are, how long they stay. It's arguably one of the most strategic things HR can do. Get the foundation right.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering how fast technology and business needs are shifting, and thinking about that critical instant technique, how it reveals the gap between the job description and the actual job. How often do you think your job description needs that kind of critical review to make sure it still matches the reality of what you do every single day? Something to think about. Join us next time for another deep dive.